agenda. I don't have an agenda.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the October 20th, 2021 HSV Property Owners Board meeting. And we will start out with Mr. Omahundro telling me that we have a quorum.
Oh, we have a quorum. Sorry, I was looking for something.
Jason will lead us in prayer.
Good morning, everyone. If you would join me in prayer. Father God, we just want to thank you so much and praise you for the beauty of the village here that we get to enjoy. We just thank you so much for the forgiveness and salvation you provide for our souls and the peace that gives us in our lives. It's a big day today, Lord, so we want to lift up our board for wisdom and good health in the decisions that they have to make. We lift up our community for wisdom and unity in the decisions that our community has to make. We lift up our staff, that you would protect them from harm, give them strength and wisdom in the decisions they make every day on the job. Lord, we desire as a community to be an example of your love and compassion to ourselves, to our community, and to the world. Help us make the most of every day and to be a blessing to everyone who comes through our gates. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Tucker, will you lead us in the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Tucker. Next up is approval order of business. And I would like to make a change in under current business for the 2022 budget. We're going to hold off on approving that budget until the November meeting. And primarily that is so we only have to accept one budget with an assessment or without an assessment increase. Are there any other changes to the business? Okay. Then we need a motion to approve the order of business.
So made.
Second.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Gary. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion's approved. Next up is the consent agenda. Approve the 9/15/2021 regular meeting minutes, the 11/06/2021 special meeting minutes, receive standing committee minutes, architectural control, finance and planning, several of those, golf, lakes, parks and recreation, public services and trails, and the public services report. And I need a motion to,
So move.
okay, by Pam, a second.
Second.
Second by Tucker. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. John Paul, the GM report.
Good morning. This is a report for October the 20th. Start off with the assessment vote. The proxies were mailed to all property owners in good standing last Friday, on October the 8th. This is to vote on the increase in monthly assessments. The vote is in accordance with the board's motion on August 25th, 2021 to ask property owners to increase monthly assessments by the amount stated in option 1 of the FREDF recommendations. The membership meeting is scheduled for Monday, November the 15th from 9 to 4 p.m., from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Ouachita Building. We have chosen the auditing firm of EGP, PLLC to complete the vote process on our behalf. Members have the option to mail the proxy into the auditing firm, or they can vote in person at the November meeting. Results of the vote will be announced at the meeting on November 14th. We ask that residents do not drop their proxy in the box out front because it has to be mailed in order to be counted. So it will just go away if it is dropped in there. So don't do that. We've got signs on the box, but we still have had a couple put them in there. I wanted to give you an update on the Balboa Club. The porte-cochere has been repaired and painted. The water lines have been repaired in the kitchen, and the entrance sign has been installed and updated. The parking lot was striped. This completes the planned renovations for the Balboa Club this year. The Turn at Balboa, the new restaurant, plans to expand their menu and operations by utilizing the upstairs kitchen shortly. He's got his equipment on order, although we don't know how long that takes anymore to order anything. But he's hoping to get it in, and when he does, he wants to open the upstairs dining space also. So that will give us a nice addition to that facility over there. If you haven't been, it looks very nice. I'd go over and look around. Casa Coronada, we executed a lease agreement with Troy and Patty McKee to operate the Casa Coronada restaurant effective November 1st. Mulligan's at Ponce will remain open under the current, it'll be operated by Matt Curtis, who is keeping all the old employees and really not changing much in that operation. Once that transition is complete, the POA will only operate the deli and our seasonal restaurant at Waypoint. Gate security continues to be a major focus for us. The compliance department is performing studies to determine and options to help eliminate tailgating at the satellite gates. We have recently reduced the timing on those gates, reducing the amount of time a potential tailgater would have to gain authorized entry. We have eliminated the pullover lanes at the Danville gate and the Balboa gate by putting the safety delineators there so that people can't pull over and wait for you and then go in. We're also developing a plan for enhanced gate signage. These signs will improve the aesthetics at the gate and also comply with verbiage that will help our law enforcement enforce the trespassing laws for people entering the gates that are not property owners or sponsored guests. We're wrapping up the 2022 budget, and Karina will be going into that in detail, but what I wanted to talk about today was just to compliment her and her staff on the long hours that they put in, and they put in countless hours on both versions of this, and I just wanted to thank them for their efforts in this regard. Our IT department continues to install new credit card machines at all the POA retail locations, the golf shops, the restaurants, et cetera. The staff, we had a minor problem in the beginning with they call packets being dropped and the duplication of cards. We've solved all that problem, and the new machines are much more friendly to operate for the members, and they should all be rolled out in the next 2 weeks. I think they have 20 left to install. The Village Member Guest Tournament took place on September the 30th through October the 2nd at DeSoto Isabel in Granada. It's one of our 2 large events that we host, and 56 teams competed in this tournament. Golf rounds continue to have an upward trajectory. In 2021, rounds were up by 1,000 over September 2020, and so far around 14,600 rounds up year to date. We instituted a Lot Next Door program, not a problem. We have implemented a program to identify the POA-owned properties that are located next to homes and contact these homeowners to inquire if they're interested in purchasing the property before we start marketing them for sale to the public. This program, we sent out 50 letters just as a test, and we got 2 responses and sold 2 lots. So we know that the program can work in some cases, and we will continue that on a larger scale. 2021 discovery packages show a very big positive. In September, we sold 23 packages with a conversion rate of 24%, and we have sold 165 packages for a total conversion rate of 14% for the year. A lot of these packages are staying at the RV park, which is an interesting turn for us, another department that shows increase year over year. The Compliance Department reports that through September, they've issued 1,316 permits. The department issued 1,282 for all of 2020. So people are remodeling and getting after a lot of home improvement projects this year. As of September, they've issued 109 home permits year-to-date as opposed to 56 in 2020. We are on track to reach our goal of 125 home permits by the end of this year. One of the big things that I wanted to talk about is the First Electric Cooperative. They're scheduled to begin the broadband expansion on the eastern side of the village, the Saline County portion of the village, on November the 1st. Once completed, this project will make high-speed broadband internet services available to all Saline County residents in Hot Springs Village. Our staff is working closely with First Electric during the essential planning stage of this project to minimize the damage to our underground lines during the installation progress. You have to break eggs to make an omelet, and we know it's coming. First Electric plans to complete the project in approximately 12 months. And remember, they're starting November the 1st. They will host a town hall meeting on November the 9th at 2 p.m. at the Coronado Center to discuss what they're doing, the implementation, and to answer any of the questions that the public may have. And we look forward to that program. This is a major step in broadband, at least in the Saline County portion. And that's my report.
Thank you, John Paul. The financial reporting, Karina.
So I'll jump right in. I've got a lengthy report as it is quarter end, so we'll start with the comparative balance sheet. Cash and cash equivalent totaled $15.8 million at the end of September, up $5.6 million from 1 year ago. Our membership assessments receivable less allowance for bad debt balance is $3.2 million. Our long-term debt has decreased by $610,000 since this time last year. Total liabilities has decreased almost $3.3 million from September of 2020. This is primarily due to the PPP forgiveness. Our comparative annual income statement. Our year-to-date net revenue is $29,699,423 compared to budget of $26,507,968. Reflecting a $3,191,455 increase over budget, of which $3.089 million is the PPP forgiveness. Without the PPP, year-to-date net revenue is up $102,455 from budget. Year-to-date operational expense is $21,834,390. Which is $2,709,961 less than budget. Net income before depreciation is $7,865,032, exceeding budget by $5.9 million and reflects an increase over 2020's actual by almost $5 million. Statement of revenue, expense, and capital. Revenue, all divisions except those noted below, which are food and beverage and recreation, are reflecting year-to-date revenue greater than budget. Overall revenue is up $798,000 without the PPP funds and $3.8 with the PPP funds. Food and beverage reflects less than budget. This is primarily due to leasing facilities. Recreation reflects less than budget due to participation, still not back to pre-COVID status. And as you can see, we've been trending very close to budget other than the PPP forgiveness month over month. Your top 5 revenues over budget year to date are miscellaneous, which is where the PPP is located. Your green fees, non-property owner, decal revenue, residential water, and real estate sales are all reflecting higher than budget. Your top 5 revenues under budget year to date are your food sales, beer sales, sewer service, mixed drink sales, and annual fitness membership. As you can see, we're continuously trending under budget on expenses month over month. Expense side, administration, public safety, public works, lakes, food and beverage, and recreation are all showing reduced operating expenses from the prior year. Assessment expenses reflect $516,000 increase over 2020 and $696,000 higher than budget. Development reflects $471,000 increase over 2020's year-to-date and $100,000 less than budget. Public utilities reflects $299,000 over 2020's expenses and $13,000 less than budget. Golf reflects $742,000 over 2020's expenses and $524,000 less than budget. Your top 5 expenses, top 5 expenses under budget for the year to date are your group insurance, your wages full-time, maintenance of lakes and dams, wages part-time, and retirement fund. Your top 5 over budget expenses are the uncollectible assessments, other allocations, and that's due to internal billing, advertising, the credit card and bank charges, and workman's comp. Your statement of capital additions, 2021 capital spending year to date is $2,403,501, reflecting 53% of the budget being spent. The 2021 capital spending is $198,000 less than 2020's year to date. Cash flow statement, the beginning cash for September was $14,535,884. Net income after depreciation was a loss of $80,749. Net change in assets and liabilities was $1,563,389, with an overall net cash provided by operating activities of $1,743,962. Net cash used in investing activities totaled $390,861, which are capital purchases. Net cash used in financing activities totaled $29,852, reflecting current loan payments, resulting in end-of-month cash and cash equivalent balance of $15,859,134. Some of your other financial highlights: community development. 2021 year-to-date, there have been 106 new home permits. We've completed 144 discovery packages. Year-to-date with 23 conversions. The overall conversion rate since inception for discovery packages is 15.4%. 72 POA lots have been sold year-to-date and 19 lots have been taken back for a net change in POA lots of 53. In golf, year-to-date golf rounds are 14,499, higher than 2020's year-to-date. The golf surcharge accumulative revenue as of September is $966,000. Year-to-date, we've had 1,797 playable days compared to 1,663 days in 2020. Revenue per day has increased $221.91 from 2020. For your monthly wrap-up, September's net revenue for the month is $2,947,183, reflecting more than the monthly budget by $68,427. The top revenue categories performing over budget for September is your green fees, non-property owner. The package play is doing very well compared to the prior years. The cart rentals are still up, better than the monthly budget by $42,000. The green fee members, miscellaneous, which is your utility simplex grinder pump fees, that goes in there. The top categories performing under budget for September is your food, beer, mixed drink sales from leasing out our operations, the residential water, and that's due to the accrual. It's on track for the year. Discounts and adjustments, that's all related to sales and use tax discounts. Rentals and admissions, less participation than anticipated, mainly due to COVID. That's with our recreational facilities. September's operational expense is $2,766,610, coming in under the monthly budget by $170,605. The top categories performing over budget for September is the fertilizers and chemicals, primarily related to the water treatment plant chemicals. Electricity, we're running approximately $30,000 over budget, price increases and usage. Maintenance of the wastewater system for sludge, that's an increase for the month due to a reclass. It's under budget for the year to date. Fuel and oil, increased expense mainly due to the usage at the golf courses. The top categories performing under budget for September is group insurance, wages, full and part-time, and retirement funds, all related to staffing issues. Contracts are decreased from a month due to a reclass and under budget for year to date. September's net income before capital and depreciation is $180,573, greater than budget by $239,032. Overall, September revenues are slightly better than budget. This is primarily due to golf revenue being greater than budget. September expenses are running under budget, primarily salary related. Other factors are lower than budget expenses such as contracts, rental equipment, and food cost. Capital purchases are still behind schedule due to the market conditions. Therefore, many purchases have delayed time. Several items are expected to be available over the next couple of months, such as the golf carts and mowers, along with several fleet items. Year to date, the biggest impacts on variances from actual to budget is related to PPP forgiveness of $3.1 million. Next is payroll costs, reflecting $1.74 million under budget. Dredging had been postponed to later in the year, therefore reflecting $400,000 under budget still. Without the PPP funds, payroll, and delays in dredging, net operating excess is approximately $670,000 better than budget. Behind the scenes, so your quarterly update, accounting and member services, increased upsell efforts have been a success with the increase of sales of the recreation bundle and the non-member golf memberships. We've streamlined the new property orientation process, improving interaction between members and front desk area. And with us moving some offices around, the member wait out front should be smoother during annuals. Increased staff training regarding the member website and golf processes to help with the upcoming renewals. Expanded coverage for high traffic hours combined with improved training for the call center to answer questions instead of having to transfer the calls. Continued cross-training, allowing the department to help each other when needed, allowing for overall improved customer service. Went live with the paperless AP system and are currently training staff and vendors on the new processes, along with preparing for the upcoming auction. And information technology, improving the documenting process within the department and building our standard operating procedure library. Building an information security assessment tool for tracking and improving security throughout the POA. Implementation of the new voice over IP phone system is underway. Improving video surveillance and network throughout all the gates. Cleanup of the IT facilities and storage areas. Assessing costs to find areas of cost savings and efficiency. Improving knowledge of business intelligence and data mining. Replacing outdated desktops. And improving network connectivity between the POA locations. Compliance and permitting. Compliance and permitting department have been very busy this year. You can see inspections have increased by 520 over last year's year to date. Small permits are up 34. New home permits are up 50. Violation cases are down 252. Administrative fines are $8,950 above the budget for 2021, and the ACC fines are $807 less than budget for 2021. Compliance has recently taken over Animal Control Department and working closely with the Animal Welfare League. And FYI, October is National Code Enforcement Month. Marketing. Digital advertising campaign, which began on April 1st, ended August 15th. And we utilized paid search, Facebook display, and pre-roll video in our 6 core states, which are Arkansas, Texas, Tennessee, Missouri, Illinois, and Louisiana. Most of our ad spend was on message selling on discovery packages. A small fraction was spent on golf packages, which was a very high return on investment, reaching a golf-hungry audience in markets within a 6-hour drive to Hot Springs Village. The Village Digest continues to show strong readership and engagement. An average of 5,961 subscribers open their digest email each week, up 2% from second quarter. The average weekly open rate is 50%. Village Digest continues to show strong readership and engagement. Oops, I copied the same one twice. I apologize. Skip the bottom one. We added 491 Facebook page followers. We had 7,399 followers on 9/30, a 26% increase since January 1st. Continue daily posting of varied content on Facebook to keep members engaged and entertained. The 3 most popular posts from the third quarter were the advantages of living in Hot Springs Village, new and improved gate access, and kids fishing derby preparation with Anglers Club. They also installed a new marketing display on the wall outside the conference room at the POA Administration Building. This display shows all the current advertising, sales material, and marketing metrics. They conducted a mid-year review and strategy discussion with our real estate partners on July 7th. Mike Sells of the sales agency led the group through a sales cycle analysis discussion, which resulted in the identification of new tools and approaches, including a realtor list to hand to unsponsored visitors to our gates, confirmation of a need for a brochure with maps for mailing and distribution to prospects, and expansion of the discovery package to include amenity selections such as lakes, tennis, pickleball, and swimming. They conducted 2 newcomers meetings at the Woodlands Auditorium. The September meeting was recorded on video, which will be available for members to view soon. And they provided handouts with all relevant phone numbers and website addresses to attendees. They produced 5,000 refrigerator magnets showing key phone numbers for villagers, the POA operations, amenities, and restaurants. The project was fully funded by the Village True Value Hardware, whose ad appears on the magnet. They completed the fully revised Property Owner's Handbook. This 24-page booklet is printed and provided to all new members when they register with the POA. There's also a link to it. Public services. They hired a new shop manager and mechanic in the fleet department, repaired the lift station at Italian Restaurant. Levantino Drive culvert replacement is currently underway. DeSoto and Barcelona culvert replacement has been completed. Completed 3 paving projects. Cortez Gate and Tally Cemetery Road repair and paving are completed. All 13 lakes have been mowed. The Hot Springs Village fountain repaired and back in operation. New solid waste containers have been ordered. GIS mapping is currently being updated. The urban hunt had 134 harvested with 116 donated to the Hunters Feed the Hungry. 7 new water services installed, 5 new sewer services installed, 5 new sewer extensions, and 7 water extensions. Golf. They hosted the USGA Amateur Qualifier at DeSoto, conducted the HSV Couples Championship in August. Stay and play packages at the end of September were strong, with rounds being 54% up over 2020 and revenue up 74% over 2020 over the same period. And they moved into their new office space for the golf department at Balboa. On the maintenance side, Bermuda greens were successfully aerified in August. Bentgrass greens were successfully aerified in September, and the fall pre-emergent, the weed control, was applied to all courses in September. Recreation. Stars and Stripes Festival fireworks show was a huge success with the addition of outdoor concerts taking place at Lake Balboa. Our kids and fishing derby also saw the largest crowd to date at Lake Cortez. We completed the renovation of DeSoto Beach and DeSoto Marina. Additions including the fishing pier at Waypoint, fenced-in park area for alcohol sales expansion, and boat slip additions at DeSoto Beach. DeSoto Beach project also included additional 60-foot of seawall and staired entry into water and onto the beach from the parking lot. They wrapped up the 2021 Woodlands Summer Tour with sellout dates for all 4 shows. completed the archery range and hosted an open house event with instructional opportunities to open the facility, hosted the first annual Arkansas Heritage Festival at the Ponce de Leon Center in Grove Park. This was a 2-day event that brought in some of the most prominent musicians, artists, and guest speakers that Arkansas has to offer. Executed the pickleball court renovation project, which consisted of removing the cushion surface and replacing with a hard court surface. And that's what we've been up to. Any questions?
If I may, Ms. I had one thing I left out also. The POA auction, we've had some questions about that, and I wanted to shed some light on it. It's scheduled to take place this Saturday, October the 23rd, from 10 to 2, down at the pit at 104 Deposito Paseo Lane. This auction includes vehicles, equipment, and office furnishings owned by the POA that are no longer being used. We've held these auctions in the past. They haven't done it over the last 5 years, and we're bringing them back simply for 2 reasons. Most of these items are trade-ins that we would be trading in, and we always get more at an auction for them than we do on a trade-in. That's why we have this auction. Plus, there's some surplus equipment that we don't use anymore that we need to turn into money rather than just letting it rot away. There are some outside items that the auctioneer brings in to enhance the crowd down there to get a more diverse crowd. So a lot of these some of these items are not owned by the POA in there, and that's the reason for the auction and why we have it.
Thank you, John Paul. Thank you, Karina, for your lengthy update. I mean, it was great. It's hard to pick a department of who is doing the most, really, of what's going on. Okay. Next up, Standing Committee quarterly reports. And the first is the Government Affairs Committee.
Good morning. You should have received a report that I sent as well to the board earlier this week. The Government Affairs Committee, of course, is a strategic committee of the board that focuses on the external interfaces between Hot Springs Village and our surrounding communities. We have several current topics of focus, which we discussed during our last update. And I just wanted to give you a little update of some of the outcomes that we've had from those topics of focus over the last few months. So on legislative affairs, during the past 6 months, we've been successful in working with the legislature to allow Hot Springs Village to participate in broadband funding initiatives. This likely paves the way for us to make inroads on other statewide funding initiatives in the future. We've kind of cracked the door open with this one. As many of you know, we've been told many times that we can't get state funds for basically anything. And I think we have kind of opened that door a little bit. We do recommend to the board that staff be engaged specifically in lobbying and legislative affairs in addition to the volunteer work we're doing on our committee. I believe that we have a significant opportunity with the state, certainly with a lot of the broadband and other infrastructure funds that are going to be allocated by the federal government. The state of Arkansas is not going to know what to do with all that money. We live here in the state of Arkansas. We should be entitled to some of that money as well for our infrastructure, sewers, roads, et cetera. But we need to actively lobby with our state senators, legislators, our federal government people in order for us to make sure that we have access to that. That will require a concentrated effort, I believe, by the POA itself to go after some of those funds. But I do believe we've kind of at least opened the door by what we started with the broadband and got that passed through the legislature. We've never had any opportunity to do this in the past. So that's one of the things we've been focused on with legislative affairs. Broadband, you heard from John Paul about the good work that's happening with First Electric. We've had others as well. Aristotle Communications with wireless broadband also looked at doing some things on the Saline County side. Unfortunately, they were not successful with the state in terms of getting grant money to build the wireless system that they wanted to build there. Luckily, First Electric is very interested and is building a statewide network for all of their customers. The challenge that we have here in the village, they don't have customers in Garland County, and we span 2 different counties. So we are at risk of having people in Saline County having gigabit or better service at every residence and business in Saline County, and not having service at residences and businesses in Garland County. We really need to focus on the Garland County side and work with the Garland County Quorum Court and other government officials in Garland County to see what we can do to try to get some services out here on the Garland County side. As you know, I participated in the broadband committees in the city of Hot Springs. We were successful in bringing Ritter Communications to Hot Springs, which is a fiber optic network provider. We need to work with Garland County, the city, folks on that side to see if we can't be successful in maybe either bringing Ritter out here or getting Cable Links to increase their cable service for broadband services out here as well. I think that's going to be important for us moving this next year as First Electric starts their build out in Saline County, trying to figure out what we're going to do with our residents that live on the Garland County side. Healthcare, we've been very focused on healthcare resources. There's been some news recently about the walk-in clinic at CHI over here has not been open. I have not followed up on that yet. Our person on our committee that was focused on healthcare and did our healthcare resources directory, which we published, has since resigned from the committee due to some personal issues. So we're looking for someone else to pick up that banner on our committee and to start focusing again on healthcare resources for the village. It's obviously very critical, you know, for our population out here in the village. Economic development, we came to you last time about funding an economic impact study. That impact study we commissioned with UALR is already underway, and we provide a lot of information that they needed to put together with the census information that they had and information from the school districts. It is running slightly behind schedule. You know, everyone's stressed and doesn't have enough staff, so they've been unable to get some of the information they need from the state to complete our economic impact study, but I expect that will be done within the next quarter or so. That's a valuable tool to us here in the village, especially as we start to go out and talk to legislators about why it's important that they work with us here in the village. We have a significant voting block, and we need to exercise some of that power. Education, as you know, we're the home to about 800 school children from both Fountain Lake and Jessieville. We're always working with the school districts to find ways to be helpful and what we can do to help them and their students. Many of you may have seen all of the press coverage and newspaper coverage at my restaurant chain, where we have implemented a kind of a high school work program where we actually pay our high school students to come in early, study. We have great internet at our locations, luckily, so we pay them to come in early, we feed them, and then they start work. It's been a great thing for us in terms of staffing. We've received tremendous amount of news coverage. We've been featured. They did a lead story for us on KARK on Friday night on the news. We've been over 130 websites this weekend, Yahoo News front page, and today we were on Fox and Friends nationwide this morning. So great coverage, a way for us to really get out and talk about Hot Springs Village as well. I already had someone call the restaurant from New Jersey saying they loved our program. They saw us this morning on the news. They're going to go on vacation this coming summer, and they're coming to Hot Springs Village because they want to come to our restaurant. So all those things are great things, I think, and we'll continue to work with the school districts on what we can do to help with our students and help them get valuable jobs and learn valuable work skills, which is even more important. On development, that's a new area of focus that we just started working on this year. We've had actually quite a few speakers come to talk to us about various developments. We had Judge Airy just about a month ago come talk to us about the new Southwest Trail, which is the bike and hike trail that's going to go from Little Rock to Hot Springs, and about the economic impact they feel that trail is going to have, both kind of in the people that are going to go from one end to the other, but more importantly in the urban areas and the suburbs where those trails will go through. They're already seeing people saying that when they look at what's happened with the trails like up in Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas, majority of the people that use those trails only use them for a mile or a mile and a half. But they get on it and they ride a bike to get a hamburger. They ride a bike to school. They They go out and walk the trail for exercise within their local area. So while it will be a big economic development, I think, for the region from Little Rock all the way to Hot Springs, certainly will be a big boon to certain areas where that trail actually goes through. Unfortunately, it doesn't really come very close to us. It runs down Highway 70. That's really the closest to us, but there may be opportunities for us to find ways to connect to that at some point in the future. It is being completely funded by grants. There's no local money actually going into those trail pieces. It's going to be a great development. The trail is absolutely fabulous, and they're renovating that old historic bridge over the Saline River in Benton as part of that trail. They even took it apart and sent pieces, I think, to Michigan or somewhere to have it refurbished. So that's going to be great up there. Public awareness is another area where the GAC is focused, and we get a lot of coverage in the local newspaper. Pretty much every meeting we are on the front page of the following paper because we do have great speakers. We do talk about positive things about the village, and we really try to promote the village in every way that we can across the entire community, and that goes through all of our, the city, county, local, chamber of commerce, school districts. Everyone participates as part of our committee, and that really, I think, brings a really good view of Hot Springs Village to our local community, and that's really part of what we focus on in government affairs. So that's kind of what we've been up to for the last few months, and we're always looking for new committee members. We have a couple of openings now as well, and so we're always looking for people to join our committee that are willing to jump into one of these focus areas and take a lead point on some of these areas. So that's all my report. I'll be glad to answer any questions anyone might have.
Great report,
All right.
Greg.
Thank you.
Next will be the Finance and Planning Committee.
Good morning. My name's Larry Senior, and I'm the current chairman of the Finance and Planning Committee. Finance and Planning assists and advises the board on governance and oversight responsibilities related to fiscal management and planning. We work extensively with the controller and the POA staff to ensure that proposed annual capital and operating budgets align with the strategic intent of the board of directors. In addition, we can, upon the request of the board and/or the general manager, review and recommend new policies, policy or bylaw modifications related to financial matters, or review proposed unbudgeted capital expenditures. We were tasked by the board in May to review the cash management policies for the village. This wide-ranging review began with an evaluation of the village investment policies. We did not recommend any adjustments to those policies following our review. We next reviewed the reserve policy. In this area, there were multiple adjustments. The reserve policy is in the process of being renamed to the emergency reserve policy to emphasize that the funds in our reserve accounts are not intended to be used for day-to-day expenses. During that review, we discovered that the village line of credit was being collateralized by the village investment fund. This limited our flexibility in the event of an emergency to bring all of our assets to bear to a potential problem. Karina, our controller, was able to successfully negotiate with the bank to utilize accounts receivable and future revenue streams as collateral for the line of credit, freeing up the village investments for other uses should we need them. Finally, we discovered that the recently established working capital accounts currently have little documented guidance regarding their establishment and management. We're in the process of developing policy guidance regarding these funds. Another major effort of the committee in the last quarter was tied to the 2022 budget. We reviewed the legacy budget guidance and provided an update to the POA staff for their use in 22 budget development. We also reviewed the 2022 proposed fee schedules in advance of the budget reviews. A key aspect of this review was to ensure that the fee schedule adjustments aligned to the FRADF recommendations of a $350,000 increase in amenity fees. In addition, we reviewed the village 2022 budget proposals prior to their presentation to the board. This was somewhat complicated this year because the staff needed to develop two budgets. The baseline budget contained the CPI permitted assessment rate increase and other adjustments recommended by FRADF. The V2 budget projected additional revenues that would be available should the upcoming assessment vote pass. Finally, F&P reviewed the draft budget prioritization policy created by FRADF originally that established special accounting treatment for critical village high-priority budget areas, providing commentary to the final document that you all accepted a few weeks ago. All of the seats on the Finance and Planning Committee are now full. Becky DeYoung, a retired mechanical engineer who brings many years of experience as a member of working groups and the board of directors from her previous community in Michigan, joined F&P in August. Ford Williams is a retired Ernst & Young partner who brings more than 30 years of experience in tax accounting and audits to the community, joining in September. During his last few years of employment, Ford led audit teams evaluating multi-billion-dollar multinational corporations. Finance and Planning meets the second and fourth Mondays of the month at 1 p.m. in the Ouachita room of the Ponce de Leon Center. All village residents are welcome to attend, and our sessions are recorded for later playback on the village YouTube site. Thank you for the opportunity. This concludes my report. Any questions?
Anyone?
Nope.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Nice report. And last but not least, Parks and Recreation.
Thank you very much. My name is Deborah Fuller. I'm the Chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee. Pleased to report out our committee quarterly report to you today. Purpose of the Parks and Recreation Committee's focus is to work with the HSV Parks and Recreation team, namely Terry Wiley and Company, to provide recommendations related to Parks and Recreation fees, annual budget, targeted marketing for various amenities, and coordinate opportunities to drive participation to our amenities here in the village. As mentioned in our last report out, Evan Hansen has officially joined the Parks and Recreation Committee post-approval by the board in August of this year. From an update perspective, the Recreation Bundle has generated $117,000 in revenue since December of 2020. This includes 85 property owner bundles, 72 couples bundles, and 7 dependents. As Karina mentioned earlier, the pickleball court resurfacing has been completed. The archery range also has generated a lot of interest, and residents are now participating in various functions related to the archery range, and it's being well received by the community. From a newcomers meeting perspective, we made it a point for those of us from the Parks and Recreation Committee to attend the newcomers meeting every other month. And what this has done from a Parks and Recreation Committee perspective is to drive interest in our amenities here in the village. We've handed out approximately 200 informational pieces to newcomers, answered tons of questions, and really received, just our presence there has been well received by our community. From an upcoming focus perspective, Maureen Morgan, who serves on the HSV Arts Council and is also one of our committee members, in fact, the secretary of our committee, worked with the council to apply for an HSV Community Foundation Giving Tree grant on behalf of the Woodlands Ponce Center. The grant money will be earmarked to extend the audio and media center equipment into Casa de Carta, and a decision on this grant should occur later this month. We'll keep you posted on that progress. As far as a capital and fees subcommittee perspective, we did have a subcommittee formed who worked with Terry Wiley to review and provide feedback on the amenity bundle, the fee schedule to simplify and provide ease of use for villagers, as well as capital expense improvements and the prioritization of those. One of the things that we're focusing on too is sponsorship for some of our amenities around the village, such as the dog park, the bocce ball court, etc., and really looking at ways to generate interest and sponsorship to bring in materials and support for those areas where the just the underlying maintenance and such doesn't fall particularly under our budget, but we can generate some of that revenue and sponsorship to really beautify those areas, so to speak. From an exploration perspective and looking into 2022, We continue to earmark an annual Parks and Recreation event. Serena Gonzalez is leading that effort, and we'll be talking about that and planning that for 2022. Over the next couple months, we should have a solid report back to you guys in the January session. In addition, as younger families with children continue to move into the village, we want to make sure that we're exploring creative ways to engage these families and draw them into our amenities and increase awareness from their perspective. In addition to that, we are looking at green spaces and discussing those potentials for family picnics, badminton, and et cetera. So we've got some things that we are earmarking for 2022. We're excited about the opportunities and continue to enjoy the engagement with Terry Wiley and Company. Thank you for the time. This concludes my report out for this month. Any questions?
This is the quietest I've seen the board all through the recreation, or not just recreation, but
Yeah.
all three of the volunteer groups.
Great.
Thank you.
Can I ask
Thank
a
you.
question?
Oh, you have a
Yes.
I
question?
have a question. You mentioned a grant. Who is the grant from and how much is it? And we have a good chance of getting it.
Do we know what the total grant is for that? You know, that's a really good question. I'll have to come back to you on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it is through the Giving Tree Council.
Terry might.
It's
Terry,
$8,000, and it's from the Community Foundation, the Hot Springs Village Community
Yes.
Foundation is offering it. And it's basically to do what we did in here, to help assist us do it next door.
Thanks, Terry. There you go.
So it's our local people in the village.
Yes.
Correct.
Donating money. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Could I,
Yep,
just
one more.
a quick observation, and that is that over the 4 years or so that I've been here in the village, the activity on the committees has grown so much, and they're making such big contributions to the community, and the people serving on those committees should really get a big, huge pat on the back because they're really doing things of value, and I think that's pretty amazing.
Yes. It's interesting you say that because we've talked about trying to have the volunteer luncheon to give those people a pat on the back. And every time we start to think it might be okay, COVID kind of rears its ugly head a little bit and everybody ducks back down. And so we haven't forgotten that. We just haven't had the best time yet to do it.
So next week's luncheon is off? I have it on my calendar that the volunteer luncheon is next week, next Thursday.
That was canceled.
That was canceled.
Well, that's the rescheduled date.
That's the reschedule.
Which was canceled.
Again. Oh.
Yes,
Stay tuned.
yes. You'll be there by yourself.
It's looking like fall of 25 right now.
Okay.
We're trying.
If we wait long enough, we can do it as a picnic outdoors in the summer.
There you go. We could dot the Balboa Beach, a person here, a person there, and just go all the way down the beach. Okay, we move on to current business, and we will start with the golf course maintenance 2022 early order program. Robert?
Okay. I move to approve the golf course maintenance 2022 early order program as presented. And the background for that is each year pesticide vendors offer an early order program for their products. Hot Springs Village POA orders its 2022 pesticides needs if we order the pesticides by October 31st. We get a 10% cash rebate. This is in addition to other discounts and rebates received during the year. The orders are non-binding and can be canceled at any time. We may take delivery of the products anytime in 2022 with payment terms extending through June 7th, 2022, depending on the product. All products are referred to as agency priced, which means that the prices are set by the manufacturer and all vendors must sell the product for the same price. The golf course maintenance department will be ordering 35 different products, primarily fungicides used to control disease on the greens. for a total of $396,958. Each product will be delivered and invoiced individually. The cash rebate of approximately $40,428 would be issued to the POA in mid to late 2022. The entire order will be shipped to Ponce Golf Maintenance Facility instead of delivered to multiple facilities to save on delivery and shipping charges. Also, Ponce is in Saline County and has a lower tax rate. The total 2022 fertilizer and pesticide budget for the whole year is $674,254. If we were not to utilize this early order program, we wouldn't be saving the $40,000. We had talked about this on the board meeting October 6th. So,
I'll second.
Discussion. And I know we had a lengthy discussion at the discussion session.
we've already discussed all
Yes,
this.
but does anyone have anything? Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Pass this out to everybody. Next up is something that we have discussed twice, and we're going to do something today, I think. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to do something today. That is the HSV polling places. Okay? Now, I passed out because it was way too late to send to Katrina at 1 o'clock this morning. What I'd forgotten to give her was the letter that we had from Garland County, from Gene Haley, and we had that last, I don't know, February or something.
April.
Okay, I think there was one before that even, but okay, April. But we had that, we read it, we discussed it, but we took no action. Then at the discussion session, it's come up again because Fountain Lake has an election coming up, and we have really been focusing on doing something to put the gates more secure at all times. And so by doing the polling inside the village, I wanted to understand from our compliance division what that would mean. And Charlie sent me his thoughts on it. And everybody should have that paper. And we're kind of going backwards, but we talked about it the last time. Some of you had some firm beliefs in it, some of you not so much. But what I would like to do is to have a vote on it today so we can get in contact with Garland County and let them know what our plans are. Also, I'd had something from Keith Keck that said that Saline County was okay with the way they've done it in the past, which they did not have it inside, I believe. It's outside the gate.
On voting day only?
Anytime. They will continue on with how they've done it. Last year, even with COVID, we voted there. I don't know what's in that building now, but it's right before you come in the gate. So.
Well, we're in a gated community. There's sacrifices. There's, that doesn't come without issues on occasion. To open the village up for 2 or 3 weeks to anybody that wants to come in the doors is to me, is just not acceptable. So I don't know how we do a motion or
Would you like to make a motion that we want?
Well, I want to discuss that further myself.
Okay.
Is we had talked about maybe a single day election that might be, we might be able to deal with that. And the list, the risk is lessens considerably, if, you know, of anything coming from that. So I don't know for sure how we do that.
Okay, it's actually called a vote center, is what it's called in the statute. And that means that those polling places inside will be available for early vote.
Even in a school election?
Oh, the school election, I don't know if they have an early vote. I don't know. But that school election.
Honestly, you know, rather than muddying the waters, you know, I'm sorry, it's just not that far to drive outside the village to vote. Like I said, there's a little inconvenience in people's lives, but surely that's not a tremendous inconvenience.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against having it open only for voting day, but they want it open for early voting, which lasts for 2 or 3 weeks, and that just lets everybody in, and everybody, so I just think it's not acceptable, and I don't think we should do it.
We're a gated community.
Yep.
We need to be a gated community all year long.
Pam or Gary?
What Tucker and Bob said.
Well,
Can you explain what that was?
Yeah,
Yes, I could.
we've been told in the past, through studies, that a big reason people move here is because of its being a gated community. So, like Tucker said, with most options we're given in life, we have pros and cons. And the fact that our residents ask for a more secure gate system in the last couple of years especially, I believe we need to honor that and not open our gates for the election.
Okay. Would someone make a motion for that effect? I would like to get a vote done today.
Go, Tucker.
Sure.
Well, I guess I make a motion to not open the village up for voting, for
Inside the village.
what is it called? What do they call it?
Vote center.
Poll centers inside
Vote
Hot
center.
Springs Village.
I second that motion.
Okay, and we will adjust that wording if we have to. Any other discussion on that? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
You got it accomplished, didn't you?
Yeah, I got it accomplished, yes.
Good job.
All right. Next up is the proposed 2022 fee schedule. Gary.
I move to approve the 2022 fee schedule, version 1, as published. Now, it includes a few changes. They are published. Would you like me to read each one?
I think it's important that we understand what we're doing
All right.
here.
The 2022 fee schedule includes increased assignment and deeded owner change transfer fees, introduce a notary services fee of $7, introduce credit card processing fee of 3% for assessments, utilities, and annual memberships, introduce $10 work pass vehicle decal and $10 annual work pass for 6+ work passes purchased annually, introduce buy-in fee for unimproved lots for first-time buyers only, introduce buy-in fee improved lots first-time buyers only, increased golf annual daily fees, 30-day passes, cart registration and fees, and cart lease fees, rounding increase of fitness daily fees, remove fitness personal trainer fee, decreased annual pool annual fees, rounding increase of pickleball fees, increased tennis fees, increased dog park fees, increased annual recreation bundle passes without golf, Introduce annual recreation bundle passes to include Coronado Golf on Tuesdays and Thursdays only. Decreased croquet fees. Introduce new archery annual fees. Introduce new 5 and 10 visit amenity recreation pass fees. Rounding increase of rental facilities fees. Rentals changed from quarter hour to hourly fees. Introduce rental fees of Casa de Carta. Introduce concert backline rental fee. Increase setup and tear down rental facility fees. Introduce fee for donations on ticket sales, 5 cents. No change to library fees. Increased boat annual and 7-day fees. Increased shoreline herbicide applications. Introduce residential sanitation curbside monthly fees and 20% medical disability discount on at-house monthly fees. Introduce sanitation truck trip to tip residential container fee, $5. Increased commercial sanitation fees. Increased water and wastewater fees. Introduce meter and box replacement and meter tampering and theft of water service fees. Introduce backflow preventer annual inspection and report fee, $50. Introduce utility shutoff fee, $50 minimum monthly. Introduce fees for dumping wastewater repair, commercial wastewater service calls, relocation of tank, pump, discharge line and panel, and repair for damages and theft to wastewater lift station and/or facilities. Increased road and utility service connection fees. Increased property pins location fee. Introduce compliance boat ramp violation fee, $50. Increased public safety false alarm and police service fee for estate and auction sales. Increased animal control fees. Now that's the end of the list of highlights of the
Pretty well read the budget, didn't you?
Pardon?
So you pretty well read the budget, didn't you?
Pretty close.
Okay.
Pretty close.
Nice job, Gary.
The finance and, whoops, that's the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
And discussion?
The Finance and Planning Committee, with a lot of input, examined the fee schedule and the budget, by the way, but has nevertheless spent time on the fee schedule and determined that it was within the recommendations from the FRAT-F task force this summer and input from the committee. So I would recommend passing the fee schedule.
Karina, there's a lot, it sounds like a lot of things are going up.
There's a lot
and-
of cleanup for rounding, so if it
Yeah.
has
A lot of rounding errors.
14.98.
It's not, it sounded a lot worse than it is.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be, but none of these fee increases are, some are probably less, but probably are increased above the CPI.
No, the only things that did have a substantial difference was some of the repairs that are being added that are new, and so that would cover material cost. Other than that, the biggest increase would have been with the 5.8%, and many of those items were much less than that.
Right, I want to be clear, it just sounded like everything raised way up, and that's not the case. Some of it was 20 cents, rounded up, maybe 20 cents on something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think the other important thing to keep in mind is that the recommendation from the task force was really for a more balanced approach to our financial situation and our revenue generation, and this is part of balancing that approach so that it's not all falling into the assessment bucket.
I have a question. This 3% credit card processing fee is probably going to, we'll hear a lot about that, I would guess. And would you tell us why we did that?
This is to help offset the fees that we are incurring every time a card is being processed. So if you guys recall from our presentation, our credit card fees are drastically over budget. That's all bank and credit card fees, but this would just be to help offset because we do spend several $100,000 a year in credit card and banking fees. So it's like I said, it's to help.
And that's par with any other business.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, you
if
pay
you go to get tags on your vehicle at the revenue office, or you want to pay your property assessment online, all of those, there is a 3% charge as well. And so trying to kind of follow that structure.
Right.
We're not applying it to everything. You know, so if you go out and you're buying something at the golf shop, it doesn't apply there. It's to your assessments, your utilities, and the annual purchase.
And all of these things could be done, if you want an automatic payment, it can be done through your bank account.
You can always set up ACH.
Yes.
There will not be an additional fee for that.
Right.
You can always still pay by check.
The negative's going to be they're not going to get rewards or dollars back on their credit card purchases through that way. And
because that's really what that's what that surcharge is going to pay for you to get
Yeah.
airline miles or
we don't
whatever.
offer discounts for that,
Right.
but we're doing it when we let them use a credit card.
Yeah.
Right.
So there are alternative methods so that you do not have to pay that 3%, but we pay it, so it's just to help offset if
Right.
you do decide to use it.
So to be a bit redundant, it is a pass-through
Yes.
on these items.
Yeah, before
Yes.
we were basically eating it. Now they're going to they'll be paying for it.
Right.
How about that?
Another one I had was, and I think this may be wording, but I don't know. Introduce annual recreation bundle passes to include Coronado Golf on Tuesdays and Thursdays only. Is Coronado Golf not opened any other day
They're-
except Tuesday and Thursday?
They are one of our slower participated in courses, and so that's why they've chose that one. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, they have less going on. So it's the most open time of the least used course.
To do what?
So they're adding golf to that package.
Oh, okay.
So if you, the bundle that we have currently gives you access to several different amenities as far as the dog park and stuff like that. We are taking it one step further and introducing the same bundle, but with golf play at Coronado on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Gotcha. So, yeah, if you buy that annual recreation bundle, you get Coronado Golf on
If-
Tuesday and Thursdays only.
If you choose that one.
And that's green fees.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, you would still pay the golf.
Cart
and surcharge.
Surcharge.
On top of that.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Well, and going over these fees, I know that a lot of my golfing friends are curious as to the green fees going up, and they're, for daily minimum fees at the golf courses, they're not going up. And then the golf cart is only going up 50 cents. So when we talk about all of these increases, there's a lot of just bookkeeping that we're doing, just rounding up to the next dollar, and it sounded a lot worse than it is.
Yes.
And I just want to point that out. Keep pointing that out, because it sounded like we have a lot of increases, and we don't.
It did sound pretty bad.
It did. It did.
The introduce residential sanitation curbside monthly fees and 20% medical disability discount on at-house monthly fees. So does that mean if you have a medical disability, then you can get a discount on the fee to pick up at your door?
Correct.
Okay. And that's the $5 fee?
No, the $5 fee is for if you were supposed to have your trash out by a certain time and the truck's already down the road and you're calling saying, wait, I need you to come back and get my trash can.
I didn't know that was
know you could do
I didn't know
that.
it was an option. Can they come back? I missed it last week.
So that is the return trip fee, if they've got to come back out while they're still out on their route.
Really? I
I
did not
thought we just
know
out of
that.
luck.
Well,
Me too. I
Usually you
chased
are.
the garbage truck down the road Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving.
We had a holiday Monday, and my wife didn't think it was going to run till Friday. Well, guess what?
Okay. Do we have a lot of meter tampering and theft of services?
You'd have to ask Jason.
What was the question?
Do we have a lot of meter tampering and theft of
Not a whole
utility
lot.
services?
We really don't have a whole lot, but we do have a few every year. And it's the staff is, without any type of fee or policy in place, the staff has no means to manage those situations. And so
Okay.
that's what the fee's
Yeah.
for.
Also, I just have a separate question, doesn't have anything to do with this. I'm on a roll today. One of your reports, and it's back a month or 2 months ago, talked about, I think it was your report, that talked about cleaning up a dump site, illegal dump site. Do you do that?
We do.
Is that what your department does?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. The street department, sanitation department, we got the new grapple truck, and even before we had the new grapple truck, we would physically go out and clean up a illegal dump. A lot of times, the police department will report those to us at the end of a cul-de-sac, way out there in the middle of nowhere. We do have folks that will dump their leaf debris or dishwasher or something like that out there, and we'll go out and clean it up.
Is there ever, do you ever find out who did the illegal dumping?
I'd have to ask Chief Ricky Millington. I don't know of any time we've ever
Okay.
caught anybody in the act or found out later, but often we get reported by people who walk their dogs or the police department, and we're just taking care of the
Okay.
village.
I noticed that there were 9 illegal dump sites in a 2-month period, and I just was curious.
I know we allow, basically, when we don't have a meter on a new job site or something like that, we allow the contractors to get water. That's going to continue to be okay if it doesn't have a meter. Am I correct?
Well, without a meter, there's no way to, if there's just a service tap there, we'll haul water to them or we'll bring water to them type of a thing, but we usually put a meter there at that service box for them to get water to their site.
Do we own a meter that can be attached to the fire plug?
We do that too. We do that too. But let's say, for example, we're out there, they're on a street that doesn't have the water and sewer down it, and they're wanting to start laying block now, and they need water for their cement. We'll try to bring water to them to fill up a barrel or something like that so they can get water for it. But then once we get that water line in there and we put a meter box there at that site, then we put a meter in, and then they're buying water under a contract meter
Well,
or construction meter.
I've done that a few times, and there's been plenty of times there wasn't a meter there. Is the reason I'm asking the question.
That shouldn't be allowed, but I know it does happen, but it's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
We'd rather just work with the contractors and give them what they need because, we want rooftops and we want to help out in that area.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. The last one may be run together, I don't know. Increase public safety, false alarm, and police service fee for estate auction sales. Are those two separate things?
Yes.
Okay. And do we now charge a police service fee for estate auctions? Or only if the police are called there?
Let me refresh with which one it is.
And that's okay. I just was curious.
I'd have to have Ricky give you the full explanation.
That's okay.
But I'm thinking if
was
they were
just
called
curious.
out there
Yeah.
too.
Okay. Okay, so any other discussion?
I have one more question on what is the multi-visit amenity pass?
I will let Terry kind of speak to that. The multi-visit amenity pass, I think it's 5 and 10. And so-
Yeah, 5 and 10. What is that?
It basically provides for a discount of the daily fee at pickleball, the fitness center, and tennis is $8. And if you buy like 5 or 10, you get a discount. It's
Oh,
just to
okay,
encourage
okay.
participation through bulk buying.
Okay,
I think especially if you've got family visiting and stuff like that. you
okay,
know,
family visiting and, yeah,
For a
well,
week, about
Okay.
pass.
Do family member, we have family member pass. How many family members get to be on that?
There's not a limit to how many family members. There are rules of which family qualifies.
Who is a family member?
So it
But it
goes.
doesn't matter. If you have 15 kids,
Right.
okay,
Well, there are rules that come into
You got
play.
15
Okay.
kids, you can't afford to go with a discount.
It's based upon, there's different criteria under which category they would fall
okay.
under.
All right, just curious.
For instance, brothers and sisters don't qualify as family.
No, the lineage has to go up and down.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. Those in favor of passing the, let me get it right here, the proposed fee schedule?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion passed. We now move to new business. Tucker?
Okay, you dropped it, okay. All right, moving right along. I move to approve revisions to Chapter 1, Article 2, Budget Policy as presented in the following attached document.
Second?
There you go, thank you. Background, the Board of Directors voted to approve Chapter 1, Article 29, Budget prioritization, anyway, policy, as a public special meeting, at a public special meeting October 6, 2021. The new policy establishes a commitment by the board to focus the resources of Hot Springs Village on those items that are needed and to maintain and sustain our existing infrastructure, keeping our equipment maintained and keep our existing amenities viable. The proposed revisions as presented to Chapter 1, Article 1 will align the policy with the newly adopted budget prioritizations policy. And I'm not reading this whole other page.
You sure?
Yes, I'm very sure.
Oh, okay.
Or two.
Do we had a second?
We had a second.
Do we have a discussion? Anyone to discuss?
No, but just to be clear for the people that are watching and listening or sitting out there, that this is part of the whole package that we needed to put together to support Chapter 1, Article 29,
Yes.
right?
Yes, it's all the paper trail.
It's all together.
To make everything we're doing proper in the paperwork.
Okay,
I may be saying the same thing, but this is part of the board strategy process to identify candidate aspects of the budget for which special accounting treatment will be required as already required in Chapter 1, Article 29, Section 2B.
That's what we
And
just said.
that was added to the list of policies pursuant to the board's commitment to let people know that any increase in assessments will be used for infrastructure specifically named in the article, and no new amenities until further authorized. That was already, I'm sorry if I'm confusing the issue, but that Article 29 has already been added. This budget proposal today, or budget proposal revised today, just more deeply explains that process.
Any more discussion?
And I'm for it.
Okay.
Is that a yes vote?
I wouldn't.
We hadn't asked you to vote yet.
I know you haven't asked for a vote, but it's customary that when somebody opens his big mouth and talks about it, he should know one way or the other how he feels, or she.
Okay. Any other discussion? Those in favor
Aye.
and those opposed? And the motion carries.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. Bylaws, Article 10,
Yes.
Directors Meeting, Section 6. Tucker?
I move to approve a revision to bylaws, Article 10, Directors Meeting, as follows. Add Section 6, establish of supermajority. The Board of Directors shall have the ability to establish a supermajority defined as a vote of 2/3 of the sitting Board of Directors to establish, modify, or delete articles defined in the Hot Springs Village Property Owners Association Policy Guide. Any articles requiring supermajority shall be so noted in the article.
Do we have a second?
Could we explain a little bit more what a supermajority
I'm waiting
is
for a
going to
second.
look
I'll-
like?
Yeah, I'll give you a second.
Okay,
then
sorry.
I'll-
Okay.
no,
Second.
Now you may have discussion.
All right, now.
This is confusing to me, and we've been working this thing to death. I don't agree with the supermajority. Some people can refer to it as different. If you look up a supermajority, it's 2/3. Although it can be different, but it always seems to, if anybody can look it up and it says 2/3, then that's what they're assuming the case may be. This policy, in my mind, I want it to be a vote of 5 of 6 board members, 6 of 7 board members. And this is basically about the policy that we put in place. It's not that we might need to fix something and the board vote on it later. That would be a supermajority, which would take 2/3 the vote to change some of the budgeted money because of a disaster or something like that. The board has to have a supermajority to do this. This is about the policy. Can this policy be voted out by the board? I want it to be, now that's just me, but I don't think it's just me, but it needs to be 5 out of 6. I don't think we'll ever be 4 out of 5, but it may need to be 4 out of 5 if we only have 5 board members, 5 out of 6 if we have 6, 6 out of 7 if we have 7. And every board member has to be involved with the vote that is a sitting member. It's not 4 or 5 out, and because 2 are off in Florida somewhere. It's 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7, 4 out of 5, whatever you want to call it.
How did the sitting
How do we need to
board-
say that? I
On the
don't know.
sitting board.
Of a sitting board.
We can fix that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I can make an proposal.
You can amend the motion.
Then I would suggest,
I think we need to work on the wording, and I don't know whether we'll be able to get it cleaned up here, but
it takes 3 words.
3 words, okay? What are they?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
In my opinion. This proposal is to further our dedication to the voters of the village that this board is serious about protecting the money they're going to devote to infrastructure. And so we use the word supermajority in the proposal, I'm sorry, the policy we have already adopted. We use the word supermajority.
As 2/3, correct?
No,
didn't define it, we just
supermajority
said
was not
supermajority.
defined in
Okay.
Article 29.
Okay.
But when you look up the word supermajority, you're going to get numerous definitions, even spelling of the word. Therefore, I would say we change this definition of supermajority to read as follows. The Board of Directors shall have the ability to establish a supermajority vote defined here as 6 members of the sitting board of directors to establish, modify, or delete articles defined in the Hot Springs Village Property Owners Association Policy Guide. Any article requiring supermajority shall be so noted in the article. And article, by the way, articles, period. By the way, Article 29 has already been written that way, requiring a supermajority.
But what happens if the
That's-
board
yeah, I know.
is only 6 people like this one?
Then it
Well,
will.
and also, what, in this policy over here, or wherever that is, I don't want 6 out of 7. I personally don't think it's smart for us to have 6 out of 7 to change where we spend our money on an annual basis. We're talking about the policy. That's just where I'm getting, at the lack of a better word, frustrated. There's 2 different issues here. One is where Karina could spend some money this year, because if we have a tree fall on a roof and we don't have it budgeted, it takes 6 out of 7 us to vote in to change the money to fix the roof. And that's a bad example, but it is actually the truth.
We covered.
I don't want 6 out of 7 board members having to vote for that. We had a voting board here lately that every time something was come up, they voted against whatever it was.
Right.
So
I
we
don't want to
can't do
interrupt, but
No.
we just covered that in our previous vote. Part of that revision to the budget policy reads, as part of the strategy formulation process, the board will identify candidate aspects of the budget for which special accounting treatment will be required. Reference Article 29, Section 2B. So if the policy requires supermajority vote, if the policy requires a named special accounting treatment, then it also would require supermajority to change. And all of these moves were meant and intended to prevent a future board from reneging on the promise to the villagers.
I agree that's what it's for. I just think we need to make dang sure we do it properly on the paperwork. And I don't think we're there.
Well,
I may be wrong.
It does require a little reading, but anyway, I've spoken. Does anyone else have?
Could we get Karina's thoughts on it?
Please.
Well, I think what Gary is trying to say is, and you as well, Tucker, we don't want to restrict our capability to function on a day-to-day basis. If we were to require the board to vote with a supermajority on any type of a budget change, we're not going to be able to function in the capacity that we need to. If somehow we are able to word the verbiage so that it achieves what Article 29 is after, is only in those specific areas. So if you guys say streets and culverts is getting the special accounting treatment and the fleet in this area, whatever it is you guys pick, that's where, if any change is to be made, it has to be a supermajority. But the rest of the function within the budget should still be able to process as it does today. So, as you both said, I think you're both on the same page, but as you're saying, we need to make sure our wording is correct so it doesn't restrict us past that bubble.
I think we're on the same page. I just don't think we're agreeing that we've got it covered here.
It's convoluted.
You just, for instance, culverts and streets. We have a culvert collapse that wasn't in the budget, and we've already spent $500,000 on culverts. We don't have any more money. I want it to be where a supermajority, being 2/3, can vote to change that.
That's not necessary under.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
If it's in.
Article 29 does not require the board to vote on emergency expenditures unless it affects the bottom line. Because
No, if it's not in the budget, we have to vote on it.
if it,
If it's over $50,000 in unbudgeted, the board has to vote on it no matter what.
Yes,
The board does not have to vote if there is a budget change that makes no bottom dollar effect. However, the policy and the articles are all being written that these certain categories, these bubbles that we're putting stuff into a fence, or, putting a fence around it, you're gonna have to vote. If you had a culvert go out, you're gonna have to have a vote of whichever it is you guys put in for the verbiage in order to put extra money there, or to take it away. I think the policy is structured so that, hey, we're not trying to take money away, but we need to be careful we're not limiting ourselves that we can't put more money into it. That category.
In case of an emergency.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a little confusion, I think, when you talk about supermajority and two-thirds. Tucker's talking about 5 out of 6 and 6 out of 7. That would be supermajority. If you're looking at two-thirds, it would be 4 out of 6 and 5 out of 7. You need to separate supermajority and the two-thirds numbers that you want to use. What numbers do you want to use? 4 out of 6 or 6 out of 7?
Well, the reason it's confusing, because if you pull up supermajority, most of the things, especially when it comes to politics and voting and things of that nature, it states two-thirds so often that people will get their thought process, and I want to be clear. So I have no problem calling this part a supermajority, which is 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 7. That's great. But to call this supermajority and assume that's 6 out of 7, no, we have to be specific that it's 6 out of 7 or 5 out of 6 or 4 out of 5.
yeah, the amendment I just made was 6 of the sitting member.
Right, but what about if we only have 6 members like we have today?
Then would require 6 members.
No, I don't agree with that either.
Yeah, what
Did you
happens
not
if we
word
only
it
have?
We can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you
All
can.
but one sitting member must
Yes,
Yes.
agree?
yes.
If you just say all but one sitting member, it
That's
doesn't
maybe
matter
a
how
good
many
word.
you have.
That may be a good way to.
Yeah.
And that's what Tucker's trying to accomplish.
Right.
Very simply put.
There's always that one that can say no, and will sometimes. We've experienced that already.
Yeah, we have.
Okay, so
Where we go, chief?
do you want to reword your motion, or do you want to table this and come back with the proper wording sounding like it needs to be you, Gary, and Karina?
Well, I want it done right. I think the villagers know there's 10 or 12 here, and there's probably 2 or 3 listening. But so anybody you talk to, tell them what we're doing, but I want to get it right, and I don't know that we don't need to let the attorney look at it.
Okay,
We just don't want to mess this up. Period. It's not an emergency. The villagers know we're doing it. Well, the ones that want to know. But let's get it right.
So you're going to ask an attorney for a legal opinion, not a business decision, correct?
Right. How do we word this? I don't know if we're going to ask him or not. I'm saying if it comes to that, let's ask the attorney. Let's get it right. If it takes asking the attorney, let's do it. But let's get the wording right.
I am in complete agreement. I mean, we don't want to do something that is going to really issue a problem.
Well, I want it to be
later time.
clear. I'm not worried about the 6 or 7, 5 or 6. I don't have a problem saying that at all. Because it needs to stay
Right.
there, and I don't care what anybody thinks. We
Right.
need to do things right. But I want to make sure it's that way. If we can word it 6 or 7, 5 or 6, 4 or 6, or like you said, everybody, all but one
Well,
votes
allow
for
one
it.
dissension vote. That's
Yeah,
it.
basically, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
So maybe we can do that without an attorney. I'm not suggesting we go to an attorney. I'm just saying, let's get it right, but no matter what we need to do to get it right, let's get it right.
so I'm asking, can the 3 of you get together and come up with what you feel would work?
I'm probably
that
the
would
worst one to get
satisfy-
involved.
Pardon?
I'm probably the worst one to get involved, but okay.
No, you're not the worst one to get involved.
Yes, we can, right, Karina? Yes, we can.
I thought we just did it.
Pam and I will be cheerleaders there on the side.
Well, I thought we just did it.
I'm
Yeah, I
not
don't
sure.
think we need to
I
keep-
don't know that we have, Pam.
Pardon?
I don't know that we have, no.
I don't think we need to kick this around too much longer.
What I don't, my biggest problem is I don't want this thing here to have anything to do with this thing over here. That's what scares me. That's why I want to make dang sure we're not voting something here that's going to affect this over here. That could be disastrous.
There's
Well-
a few layers to this.
Yes.
There's three.
And I can't keep up with them.
Well,
Well, we can be sorry about that, but to affect, what you're pointing at would require the words, which you've already adopted in policy, Article 29. You've already adopted Article 29, requiring a supermajority vote of the board to alter the special accounting, the items called special accounting, okay? We've already adopted that. So in trying to make sense of that with our bylaws, we have to modify the one you've been talking about, Chapter 1, Article.
Chapter 10.
10, Chapter 10.
10.
But if we do that with the 6 or 7, did we just do this with 6 or 7 because this overrides this?
No,
Okay.
you're not changing
I don't see it that way.
The board does not require a supermajority unless the item says so. The policy says so. It doesn't affect any other policy unless the board specified in the policy that it requires supermajority. Now, supermajority is not defined in the policy. It's to be defined in the proposed bylaw change.
Yeah, it's supposed to be defined in there, and if it's defined in here, then that's what it means over here.
Well, I'm sorry. I can't help that.
Well, then we're not gonna do it.
Well, that's.
If we don't get it right, we need to change the way we're doing it.
Change it.
Because we're
change
not
it,
gonna do that.
Tucker, if you can't follow the language, change it and let us vote on it.
I don't know how to change it.
Well,
I wanna make sure, we need to get it worked out,
a few people have tried to change it.
right?
They've tried to have written it and tried to fix it. If you're saying you can't follow that, then I don't know what else to do.
I'm following it. I'm
Pam,
following
you
it,
know
that
what-
it means
what else
this
to do?
is gonna be under that.
No, I don't get.
Robert,
what
do you
his-
know what
you're
to
getting
do
it.
next?
I think
we
Brandon
need
gets
to-
what I'm talking about.
Okay,
I
so
think we need
says
to
that, then
postpone
we-
this
then
till
this-
after we've had a lot
Discuss
more
it a little
discussion.
further and we'll bring it back to the table shortly.
Yeah.
okay.
I
That's what
only
we'll do.
speak one language, so I'm sorry if I can't come up with something else.
You gotta speak the village language here, though. And there's a bunch of them.
We've had a lot of emails, follow up to what we're doing here, and there's a lot of input to this. I think we need to wait a little while, let it settle down. I understand what Tucker's saying, I understand what you're saying.
Well, we
But-
can't wait because we put,
No, you've got to have.
Well,
We can't.
technically, you put the cart before the horse. We've already voted on a policy change that required
Yeah.
a so-called
Supermajority.
supermajority.
Yeah.
Now, that's fine, we can fix it. So what's under discussion today is the language that everybody can agree to.
On a
Well-
supermajority.
Right. Now, there are many, many definitions of supermajority, but the fact is, any contract, any writing can include a definition included in the four corners of the document. So if we say, establish a supermajority vote defined here as all
But one.
but one of the sitting board members, and everybody understands that, then that's the answer.
Okay, but the answer, then give me this answer. Does that mean we need that for this here? Because that's what we're saying it means.
No, read the one the other one that you're,
It says supermajority.
that's right.
And this
in
is
that
saying what a
one-
supermajority is. And
Right.
that means this is gonna have to be done by a supermajority too. That means.
What are you
if you're-
pointing at?
No.
What are you,
I'm using that as an example. I'm pointing it at the policy you're talking about, the 29. It's, what it says in there is a supermajority has to change the money,
For
give
those
Karina the money, like we were talking
Correct.
about.
The
It takes-
list of
Of changed things. And if we have to, if we have to fix another culvert, the board has to vote on that. If and it says a supermajority has to. Well, if a supermajority is 6 out of 7, then guess what? Or we've got to have that. They tell her she can fix that culvert. That's not where we want to be. That's not where we want to be. I don't care if you agree with it or not.
Tucker, if that piece of paper didn't exist, the budget's in place, the cost of repairing that exceeds the spending limit of the GM, they're gonna have to ask the board for permission.
Right? And is it going to take 6 out of 7 votes to give it?
No,
Well, we're saying it is.
no, Tucker, don't get ahead of yourself, please, buddy. Article 29 simply says, the board has defined all of those infrastructure items requiring a super vote of the board. That list will include the budget, which rolls over from here forward on a 7-year operations and maintenance schedule. If we decide, if the next year's, well, if the budget is adopted, the version 2 budget is adopted, and in February, a culvert collapses and the cost exceeds the GM spending limit, then they're gonna have to come to the board for a change. That exists, has heretofore existed, and
It
does
exists
today.
now. It exists now.
But if we adopt budget version 2, and that list of infrastructure includes, let's throw out a number, $1.5 million cost for culvert repairs. Some staff member says, no, I don't want to do that. I want to spend $1 million. I want to spend $900,000. He can't do it without a supermajority vote of the board. That is the difference between, as it exists today.
And this supermajority is defined as what?
We're defining it today.
Yeah, I know it. I don't like it.
Okay, so we're not getting anywhere. So Karina,
That we're trying to define it
Karina,
today, is
Gary,
what I'm
and
saying.
Tucker, you guys meet
Did what I just
and let
said,
us know what you come up with.
did what I
Okay.
just said about all but one sitting board member is the definition of supermajority? Did that,
That's what you're trying to say in here, if that's what the words we're going to use.
would that work for you?
We're not going to vote on it today.
It would.
I need to know before anybody spends any more time.
That's exactly what we need, to me, is what we need. It's only about this policy, not about the day-to-day operations. We need what is defined as a supermajority, which is 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 7, for Karina to do her work. You know,
And Karina,
fix
are you
a
in
culvert.
agreement?
We don't need to vote 6 out of 7 to fix a culvert down somebody's
Pardon?
road.
I understand what they're saying from both aspects.
Okay.
Let me spin it for you this way. If you give the scenario that you just outlaid and say we'd spent the 1.5 and now we've had a culvert collapse. And it's the fact of we need additional money. To Tucker's point, you would have to have 6 out of 7 vote to fix that culvert because it says supermajority and it's related to one of those categories. So if for some reason somebody's having a bad day and you just have 2 people that vote no, we're not gonna fix the culvert because of the way it's specified and those 2 pieces are tied together, it could limit you from actually being able to do it. Now, I understand where you're coming from and it's a completely different flip of it. But it's, where you're saying though is those additional above and beyond things that we would run into could end up being impacted by this.
Okay, so your working knowledge or working thoughts of this Article 29 is that you could not increase that item.
You couldn't change it regardless, correct, without a vote?
Right.
Well, we may have to redo 29 if there's a problem we haven't seen yet.
Well, I think 29 is fine the way, we all understand how it is. It's a supermajority to change it, and that's it. But we're trying to change that right now, and that scares me to death.
No, we're not trying to change
We're going to
29.
change it when we make this vote, if we
See-
change it this way.
It's not changing Article 29, it's boxing yourself into more restrictions when it comes to the rest of the picture.
Yeah, you just said you thought 29 was okay, but Karina just pointed out that she believes there's a working problem with 29.
If we vote for a supermajority being 6 out of 7, there is one.
Well, if
Not
we-
now, it's fine the way it is now. We're just fixing to make it where it's 6 out of 7 instead of 5 out of 7.
Okay, will the three of you want a referee in there while you are debating this?
Boxing gloves provided.
No, I can run faster scared than he can mad.
Well, Karina may be after both of you, so
I think I got her too. I can outrun her too.
Okay, so we are going to table that. The three of them will come back with.
That was enjoyable, by the way.
That's what we're here for, isn't it?
For who?
That's why we have
It's the
a
early
board.
What? It was respectful, professional. What else could you want?
Nobody died.
You don't have to agree. Okay,
All right, now.
and entertainment for the audience. The next up is,
Lost my place.
okay, comments. Gary?
You said enough, like me.
I'm out of wind. Tucker says I've said enough, so he said
I
enough.
said like me.
Okay. Pam?
Nope,
You've been
No
quiet.
comments.
Tucker, you've probably said enough. Do you have anything else to say?
I'm just proud to be here.
Robert?
Yeah, it's hard, it's like,
He's just
yeah, what do I say
dumbfounded,
after
right?
that?
Well, I think we've shown to everybody that what we're trying to do is tie this down so that any future revenue that we've specified to specific categories gets spent in that specific category, and we can't change it. And we need to be able to put in policy those safeguards so that we don't change it, and so future boards don't change it. And it's something we need going down the road, because we're going to have this every year, because we're going to roll this thing forward every year. And we want to have those categories and have the money spent in those categories. And so you can see that we're working on this, and this is not the first discussion. We've had this discussion several times. So I thought we had it solved, but as you can see, we don't have it quite solved yet, and we're working on it, and we'll get it solved, and it's going to work, and it's going to be good for the village.
And from my point of view, be glad that they've dug their heels in, each seeing a different issue that could have been a bigger issue. And we will resolve it. As Robert said, it will get resolved. Karina, if nothing else, will have to beat them
Yeah.
up, whatever, I don't know.
I agree, we're all headed toward the same goal. It's just
Yes, it's just
making
getting
sense
there.
of the language so that there are no questions.
And it's, and you see that there isn't always agreement on what goes on the board.
Well, some of this stuff's just not black and white. I wish it was, but it's not.
Right. Okay, from, Robert, anything?
And we get emails every day from many experts out in the village that whatever we do gets picked apart, and we want to make sure that we've got all our bases covered, and that's what we're working on.
Right. Okay, from the audience. Come to the podium, Ray.
Good morning. My name is Ray Lehman. I've been very busy up at the state capitol, so I haven't had the pleasure of coming in and seeing some of these board members' meetings face to face. I want to repeat what I've repeated on social media. You all are property owner focused. I have so much confidence in what you're doing, and I think this assessment process shows that very clearly. You didn't throw together a group of frat F of just simple volunteers to look at our expenses and our needs and the assessment. You threw together a group of professionals. You opened it up to dramatic, multiple opportunities for the homeowners to speak. And one of the loudest things that we heard is, there is no guarantee this money will be spent the way it's supposed to be spent. You're working on that. You're getting it done. One point of consternation that I have is that a month or 6 weeks ago, Joni mentioned that one of the ways that the board was going to work on this process, but there was a second assurance because so many of you board members are coming back. And she said that should be proof enough that it's not going to change, because none of you board members are going to make a change to how the assessments are spent, and none of you stood up and said, you're right, we're not going to make any changes. So I would encourage you to do that. The other point of consternation is with the general public on social media. We have people that are poo-pooing, for a better term, Tucker's comment and Joni's comment that we homeowners have a responsibility to make certain that we're electing the correct board members. And some people are saying that's not our job. The board needs to figure out how to do it. Well, that's nonsense. It is our job to make certain that the correct board members are elected, and every one of you are the correct board members, and I'm proud to have you running in this group for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, someone was back there and I just couldn't see him.
Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, on your discussion, I wasn't planning on commenting on this, but I didn't, because I didn't know there would be the discussion. But when you're just talking about 5 out of 6 and 6 out of 7, it's always out of 7. And I think you really need to take this back to your legal counsel. It doesn't matter that you only have 6 currently on the board. It's always out of 7. So whatever your calculation is, it should always be out of 7. When I joined the board in 2007, for my first year, I had the advantage of having 4 long-term board members there and 2 really good new board members. Even though we had all that experience there, we still had legal counsel. And you guys don't have legal counsel. They could have helped you through some of these issues today. Now, maybe it wasn't critical to get it done today, but this is an important issue to the village. I mean, I had Mike Mish, he was a lawyer. Dick Brecken, I think he had been there 3 or 4 years already. Bob Shoemaker, Bill Lynham. These are all experienced people, but we still had legal counsel. And then we had 2 great new board members, Terry Jackson and I think Paul Day. So I would really recommend that. But definitely you need to look at, it's always out of 7 because there are 7 board members. I'd also recommend that you fill that 7th spot. But anyway, that wasn't what I was planning on talking to today. I was planning on being here for the whole thing and commenting before you voted on the fees. So I was trying to watch it online. Did you approve the fees? I was interrupted. I couldn't tell. Did you approve the fee schedule?
Yes.
And I think I heard Tucker say that there were no increases over the CPI.
I don't think any of the basic fee structures went up over the CPI. That was my question.
Other than the things that were new,
that are new.
that uncovered material cost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than new things.
But we increased the deed transfer fee 20%, and we increased the assignment fee 60%. So those don't jive to me.
Well, I just asked the question.
Those are not commodity-based fees. Those are,
they're service
for lack
fees.
of a better word, administrative.
They're administrative.
They take up staff time.
And it was my correction, they are more than the 5.8%, but those have not increased since prior to 2015.
Oh, okay.
And
But they are already way over the cost of providing the service, way over. Let me give you an example. The deed transfer fee was implemented in the early 2000s because of a man named Felker, Jim Felker. I'm sure, John, you remember hearing about Jim Felker. It was an $8 or $10 fee. It's now going to $150. The service has not changed. It still doesn't cost more than a few dollars of employee time to do it, but it's gone to $150. And when you process a new deed, you get a new paying property owner. So you're punishing that. I think it was really a mistake to implement these new buyer fees. Y'all have received an email from me. I know you've read it. There were a lot of reasons I listed why it's a bad fee. But worse than that, you did it without any discussion. When the draft of the fee schedule was published on Monday. 48 hours later, you're voting on it, and there was no comment allowed before it was voted on here in public.
This has been discussed for about 6 or 7 months with the FRAT committee and in public meetings for months now.
But it
So to say
wasn't
that
on a
is
board
incorrect.
agenda. It wasn't on a board agenda or it wasn't on a fee schedule until Monday.
That's the way it works.
It was in the,
I mean,
it was
we
on
put
the
The way it
on
works is
there.
we don't get any comment period on a new
Okay.
$1,500 fee?
It was, Jeff, on the Fred F options, and
Yeah.
I think everybody knew that that was kind of an inclusive thing when we chose the option we did.
It wasn't stated like that. There was a question asked, and I believe, Tucker, you corrected a speaker because they said that, thank you for not considering that any longer. And Tucker, you corrected them saying, yeah, we're still considering it. I
Yes.
heard that.
Yes, I did.
I
And
listened
we
to
were.
that, but it just disappeared after that, as far as I can tell. And then here we are, voting on it today with no public comment.
Well, we typically don't have public comment on any of our fees that we do. I mean, they're done in the budget every year. We update the budget and so forth. I mean, do we discuss every little fee that's going on?
I mean, we have
Well-
the public meeting, that takes place before it gets
Committees?
voted on.
Yeah, committee meetings and stuff like that.
Well, the committee meetings and then going over the budget with the board prior to voting, which was the last meeting.
We went over that last time.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you've adopted the fee. I know that boards have adopted fees before. There was a board, I think it was for the 2013 budget, the 2012 board adopted a budget for 2013 that included a $15,000 road extension fee. That fee was removed by the board in January of 2013 because they realized that it would result in all kinds of legal issues. I would ask you to take back this buy-in fee to your legal counsel and ask them to compare it to the commercial fee that was shut down by a court in the early 2000s. That was a fee that was implemented by the board in the early 2000s. I don't remember how much it was. It was challenged legally. The POA lost. You need to compare this fee to that fee and ask your legal counsel, because I think you're about to get the POA in a bunch of trouble here.
They have been, obviously, they've been asked on 99%, if not all, of the things that we've done.
I understand, but they may not know about that one particular
I made it
lawsuit.
very clear I was involved in that lawsuit,
Okay.
and I was one of the ones that won.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other comments from the audience? Okay. Those in favor of adjourning? Motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
To adjourn? Second group?
Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. I think he's trying to get Jeff.
I think so. Who's that?
That's Jeff Atkins.
Oh, Atkins, okay. I didn't know that. I've tried to get together with him. He seems to be a bit aloof.
He what?
A bit aloof. He is.